I probably have several favorite writers. I would think that Graham Greene and Ernest Hemingway and an Irish-American writer called J.P. Donlevy would be the three writers who had the greatest influence on me. Their books, their style of writing, all very, very different, but each of them had a major influence on how I approached my writing and the style of my writing. And it is my ambition now to go back and reread all the books that I read 30 years ago, written by these writers, which so influenced me, and see if I can recognize the style that I have now absorbed and is part of my own writing style. I have a room in the house where I do all my writing. It's a tower, which is, I live in a 19th century French farmhouse in the southwest of France. And sometime in the 1940s, the lady who owned it then built a tower like a giant pigeonnier. And my wife has the room at the top of the tower, and I have the room in the middle of the tower, which has wonderful views over the valley below. And that's where I do my writing. I write polar. It wasn't a conscious decision that I made. In a way, it was because the first story that I wrote in the China Thrillers series was a story that was difficult to tell. It involved genetic engineering, modification of food, and I decided that the best way to tell the story would be by starting with a murder, and through the investigation of the murder, I would be able to then tell the story, unravel the story. And so it became a thriller. And because the first book was a thriller, my publisher wanted another, and then another. So I was locked into that genre without making a conscious decision that that was what I wanted to write. It can be frustrating to be locked into a specific or a single genre. But certainly with my latest book, I think I have broken that mold a little bit.
What is the latest book?
It's called, well, it's an unusual story. It's called L'Île des Chasseurs d'Oiseaux. It is published in French even before it has been published in English.
Oh, that's interesting.
And it's more of a novel. It is a polar, because it starts with the investigation of a murder, but it is much more of a novel because the investigator is returning to the island of his birth, and he has to make a journey back through time, which takes the reader through his life from childhood to the present time, which leads to the resolution of the murder which he's there to investigate. So it's much more of a novel in that way, and so that taught me to be able to use the confines of a genre to actually branch out and do different things.